Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in life when you have to ask yourself, am I being valued or am I just being used? Many of us believe that being available for everyone at all times is an act of kindness, a sign of love and care. But have you ever noticed how people start taking you for granted the moment you stop saying no? We often hear that kindness is a virtue, and being available for others is a sign of love and generosity. But what happens when this availability comes at the cost of our self-worth? When you make yourself too accessible to people, you unintentionally teach them to take you for granted. You become the person they rely on, not because they respect you, but because they know you will always be there. This is where the importance of setting boundaries comes in. Boundaries that protect your emotional well-being, your energy, and most importantly, your self-respect. Think about it. Have you ever found yourself constantly being the person who says yes to every request? Whether it's helping a friend at the last minute, taking on extra responsibilities at work, or always being the first one to check in on others, you do it because you care. But over time, you may start to feel unappreciated, exhausted, and even resentful. Why? Because people begin to expect your presence and help rather than appreciate it. Your kindness becomes an obligation in their eyes, not an act of generosity. Self-worth is not about being selfish or indifferent to others. It is about understanding that you are valuable, that your time and energy deserve to be respected just as much as anyone else's. When you constantly prioritize others at the expense of your own well-being, you are sending a message, whether consciously or unconsciously, that your needs come second, and the world responds accordingly. One of the biggest challenges in life is learning that not everyone deserves unlimited access to you. There are people who will only reach out when they need something, and there are those who will expect you to always be available while never reciprocating. This is why setting boundaries is not just necessary, it is an act of self-preservation. Boundaries teach others how to treat you. They communicate that while you are kind and willing to help, you are not a resource to be exploited. Many people struggle with boundaries because they fear losing relationships. They think that saying no might make them seem rude or unkind. But the reality is, the people who truly value and respect you will understand your limits. They will not take offense when you prioritize yourself. On the other hand, those who only stay because of what you can do for them will fade away, and that is a good thing. You do not need people who only appreciate your presence when it benefits them. Self-worth is built when you start valuing yourself first. When you recognize that you do not have to be available 24/7 to prove your worth, you begin to attract people who respect you rather than those who exploit you. Setting boundaries is not rejection, it is redirection. It filters out those who take you for granted and makes space for those who genuinely care. The next time you feel the pressure to be endlessly available, take a step back, ask yourself, am I being valued or am I just being used? The answer will guide you to the boundaries you need. Value is often defined by scarcity. The less available something is, the more precious it becomes. This is why gold, diamonds, and rare art pieces are considered valuable. They're not easily found or owned by everyone. The same principle applies to people and their presence. When you are always available, always saying yes, and always within reach, you unknowingly diminish your own value in the eyes of others. Think about the things you truly appreciate in life. Are they the ones you can have anytime, or are they the ones that require effort, patience, or exclusivity? The best relationships, the most cherished experiences, and the most rewarding opportunities are not those that come too easily. They are the ones that require respect, commitment, and effort. When people know they can access you at any time without limits, they stop valuing you. They assume your presence is guaranteed, that your efforts will always be there, and as a result, they stop making an effort to appreciate you. Consider how businesses market luxury products. They do not flood the market with them. Instead, they create exclusivity, limited editions, waiting lists, and high price tags to make people value and desire them more. This strategy works because human psychology is wired to desire what is rare. If something is easily attainable, It is often taken for granted. When you are constantly available to everyone without prioritizing your time and energy, you become like a common commodity rather than a rare gem. This does not mean you should distance yourself from those you love or become cold and unapproachable. Rather, it means being mindful of how freely you give your time, attention, and energy. If people know that no matter what, you will always pick up their calls, always agree to last-minute plans, or always prioritize their needs over yours, they may stop appreciating your presence. They may start expecting instead of valuing, demanding instead of requesting, and assuming instead of respecting. The power of scarcity is not about manipulation, it is about balance. It is about making sure that people recognize your worth and do not take your kindness and presence for granted. This applies to all aspects of life: friendships, romantic relationships, work, and even self-respect. A friend who knows you will drop everything for them at a moment's notice may never learn to truly value your time. A boss who sees you working late every night may never acknowledge your dedication because they assume it is normal for you. Instead of always being present, focus on being present in a way that is meaningful and impactful. Let people earn your time and respect just as you earn theirs. Make them understand that your presence is valuable, not something they can have whenever they please. When you create healthy boundaries and limit your availability, people start valuing you more. They begin to see you as someone whose time is precious rather than someone who is always there no matter what. Value yourself first and the world will follow. Be like a rare diamond, not a common stone. When you are always available, always giving, and always saying yes, people begin to expect it rather than appreciate it. What starts as kindness often turns into an expectation, and before you realize it, you are no longer being valued, you are being used. The harsh truth is that overgiving does not always earn you more respect. In many cases, it does the opposite. Respect is built when people recognize and appreciate your efforts. But when you give too much without limits, your efforts lose their significance. Imagine a person who constantly brings gifts, offers help without being asked, and sacrifices their own time and well-being to please others. Initially, people may admire their generosity, but over time, this behavior becomes normal, even expected. The same people who once thanked them sincerely might eventually take their kindness for granted, assuming that they will always be there, no matter what. The problem with overgiving is that it creates a cycle where you become the person who is always available rather than the person who is valued. You might think that being there for everyone at all times will make people respect you, but in reality, it often makes them lose respect for you. They may start to see you as someone who lacks boundaries, someone whose time and energy are not precious, and someone they can rely on without making any effort in return. Think about the relationships in your life, personal, professional, or even social. Are there people who only reach out when they need something? Do they appreciate you only when you're giving, but disappear when you need support? This is a clear sign that your availability is being exploited rather than respected. There is nothing wrong with being kind and generous, but generosity must come with limits. Respect is not given to those who allow themselves to be used. It is given to those who know their worth and ensure that others recognize it too. The moment you start saying no when necessary, the moment you set boundaries and prioritize your own well-being, you will notice a shift. Some people might be upset, some might distance themselves, and some might even accuse you of changing, but those who truly respect you will understand. Overgiving often comes from a place of wanting to be accepted, loved, or needed. But true respect does not come from how much you give, it comes from how much you value yourself. People respect those who have self-respect. They value those who know their worth and do not allow themselves to be taken for granted. If you find yourself constantly giving without receiving appreciation, if you feel exhausted trying to meet everyone's needs while neglecting your own, take a step back. Ask yourself, am I being valued or am I just being used? The answer to that question will tell you whether it is time to set boundaries. Because when you respect yourself first, the world follows. Your emotional and mental well-being should be a priority, yet many people sacrifice their peace for the sake of being available to others. They feel obligated to always say yes, to always be there, and to always prioritize the needs of others before their own. While this may seem like an act of kindness, in reality it can lead to exhaustion, resentment, and emotional burnout. When you stretch yourself too thin by constantly being available, you not only drain your energy, but also compromise your inner peace. People often underestimate the impact of overavailability on their mental health. The constant pressure to be present for others can lead to stress, anxiety, and even feelings of being unappreciated. You may feel emotionally drained because you are always listening, always solving problems, and always carrying the weight of others' emotions. While helping others is a beautiful quality, it should never come at the cost of your well-being. Emotional exhaustion is real, and it happens when you give too much of yourself without replenishing your own energy. Think of yourself as a cup. If you keep pouring into others without refilling your own cup, eventually you will be empty. You cannot give your best to the world if you are emotionally depleted. That is why setting boundaries is essential, not only for how others treat you, but for how you treat yourself. Another crucial aspect of overavailability is the mental load it creates. The more people rely on you, the more responsibilities you take on, and the harder it becomes to focus on your own life, goals, and personal growth. Instead of moving forward, you might find yourself stuck in a cycle where you are constantly managing others' problems while neglecting your own needs. This can lead to frustration, lack of fulfillment, and even feelings of being lost. One of the biggest challenges people face is the guilt that comes with prioritizing themselves. Many feel that saying no means they are selfish or uncaring. However, self-care is not selfish. It is necessary. When you take care of your emotional and mental well-being, you become a stronger, happier, and more fulfilled person. This, in turn, allows you to be more present and valuable to those who truly matter. It is important to recognize that not everyone deserves unlimited access to your time and energy. There will always be people who take without giving, who expect without appreciating, and who drain your energy without considering your well-being. Learning to step back, take breaks, and set boundaries will not only protect your mental health but also ensure that the people in your life respect and value your presence. Your emotional and mental well-being is in your hands. If you feel exhausted, overwhelmed, or undervalued, take it as a sign that you need to reassess how much of yourself you are giving away. Protect your peace, nurture your mind, and remember that being available to yourself is just as important as being available to others. When you prioritize your well-being, you attract people who respect and appreciate you, rather than those who simply take advantage of your kindness. One of the most powerful words you can learn to say is no. Yet for many people, it is also one of the hardest. We live in a world where saying yes is often associated with being kind, helpful, and dependable. People feel obligated to agree to every request, attend every event, and be available for everyone at all times. But in trying to please everyone, they often end up neglecting themselves. The truth is, constantly saying yes does not make you more valuable, it makes you more exhausted. Many people struggle with saying no because they fear disappointing others. They worry that declining an invitation, refusing extra work, or setting limits in relationships will make them seem rude or selfish. However, the inability to say no leads to frustration, resentment, and burnout. When you constantly agree to things you do not want to do, you start feeling overwhelmed. You take on responsibilities that are not yours, and in the process, you lose control over your own time and energy. Saying no is not about rejecting people. It is about choosing yourself. It is about recognizing that your time, energy, and mental well-being are valuable. When you learn to say no, you are not shutting people out. You are creating space for what truly matters. You are making sure that your efforts are directed toward things that align with your goals, priorities, and values. Imagine a person who never refuses anything. They are always available, always helping, and always saying yes to every request. At first, people appreciate them, but over time, they start expecting their help as a given. Instead of valuing their presence, they begin to take it for granted. The more this person gives, the less others recognize their effort. Why? Because they have not set boundaries. Their kindness has become an obligation rather than a choice. Think of someone who is selective about how they spend their time. They do not say yes to everything, and when they do commit to something, they do it wholeheartedly. People respect their time because they know it is valuable. They understand that when this person is present, they are truly present, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. This is the power of setting boundaries. The ability to say no is a form of self-respect. It is a way of teaching others how to treat you. If you say yes to everything, you are allowing people to believe that your time and energy are endless. But when you say no when necessary, you make it clear that your time is, you show that you are not available for everything and everyone, and in doing so, you gain respect. Learning to say no does not mean you stop caring for others. It means you start caring for yourself as well. When you value yourself, others will follow. You will attract relationships where people appreciate your presence rather than expect it. So the next time you feel pressured to say yes, pause and ask yourself, is this what I truly want? If the answer is no, then let that be your response. Your well-being is worth it. The strength of a relationship is not measured by how often you are available, but by the depth of mutual respect and understanding. Many people believe that being constantly present in someone's life strengthens the bond, but in reality, relationships that thrive are built on quality, not quantity. When you make yourself too available in any relationship, whether it's with friends, family, or a partner, you risk being taken for granted. True connections do not demand that you always be there. They appreciate you even when you are not. Think about the most meaningful relationships in your life. Are they with the people you see every day? Or are they with those who, even if you don't talk to them daily, still make you feel valued? The strongest bonds are not dependent on constant communication or physical presence. They are rooted in mutual respect, trust, and appreciation. When a person truly values you, they do not require you to be at their beck and call. They understand that life is busy, responsibilities exist, and personal time is essential. When you are overly available, people can start seeing your presence as something ordinary rather than something special. This is why friendships and relationships sometimes lose their spark, not because people stop caring, but because they stop making an effort. When someone knows that you will always say yes, that you will always answer immediately, and that you will always drop everything for them, they may stop appreciating you in the way they once did. Instead of seeing your time as valuable, they see it as something they can have anytime they want. This is not to say that you should withdraw from the people you care about. Rather, it means being intentional with your presence. Instead of always being available, focus on making your time together meaningful. A conversation that is deep and thoughtful is more valuable than hours of mindless interaction. A well-timed check-in that comes from genuine care is more appreciated than daily routine messages that lose their sincerity. It is also important to recognize the difference between healthy relationships and one-sided ones. A healthy relationship does not require you to exhaust yourself to maintain it. It does not demand that you sacrifice your personal time, well-being, or goals just to keep the other person happy. A relationship built on true respect understands that personal space and individuality matter. Some people fear that by stepping back, they will lose the relationship. But the reality is the right people will always stay. If someone only values you when you are always available, then their appreciation is conditional. The relationships that are worth keeping are the ones that remain strong even when life gets busy, even when you set boundaries, and even when you prioritize yourself. Instead of trying to be present all the time, be present in the moments that truly matter. Let your relationships be based on appreciation, not expectation. Value yourself and you will attract people who value you in return. Your value is not determined by how much you give, how often you say yes, or how available you are to others. It is determined by how much you respect yourself, how wisely you invest your time, and how well you set boundaries. Too much availability does not make people appreciate you more. It often makes them take you for granted. When you constantly give without limits, people begin to expect rather than value your presence. True self-worth comes from understanding that you are not obligated to be available for everyone at all times. Your time, energy, and emotional well-being are precious, and they should be protected, not exploited. Saying no when necessary does not make you selfish. It makes you self-aware. Limiting your availability does not weaken relationships, it strengthens them by fostering mutual respect. The strongest relationships, the deepest bonds, and the most meaningful connections are built on appreciation, not convenience. When people truly value you, they will not demand your constant presence. They will respect your space and time. And when you respect yourself first, the world will follow. Step back when needed. Set boundaries without guilt. Choose yourself without fear. Because when you stop being available for everyone, you make room for the right people, the ones who truly see, respect, and value you.